given that many perceive Christian music going down a spiral and I guess less theologically grounded and perhaps other issues, I'd like to know, given that you specialize in deconstruction, how does that fit into Christian music? What level of concern should we have in terms of the popular culture of all the other things that appear in popular culture? And more so as we as believers, how do we respond in that music is perceived as, I guess, less threatening if they're listening to under the guise of Christian music? How do believers respond to that?
There's a couple of ways to think about this question, and there's one place where a lot of our contemporary Christian music is coming from, but really a lot of our worship music is actually coming from a different place. So if you consider the record labels that are all in Nashville, the contemporary Christian music industry, really that's just a business. It's run like a business. They're owned by, for the most part, by secular companies, and that's who the higher-ups are answering to. So there's not really a theological standard in contemporary Christian music that people have to match up to. It's really just what's going to sell. So where the church goes, the music that's coming from CCM is going to meet the church with what they want. So they're not necessarily writing from a perspective of like, hey, let's give the church these theologically rich songs. They're trying to get on the radio. They're wanting. Now, I'm not saying that all the Christian artists have that mentality. There are some really great people in that industry that are full of integrity and doing a really good job. But what we have to realize too is that a lot of the worship music that we're getting into our churches is coming from, they're not really independent, but they're labels that have been formed by these major churches, many of which are coming out of what Doug's been talking about, which is the New Apostolic Reformation. A lot of them are coming out of Bethel, or they're in unity with Bethel. So a lot of that theology is coming into the worship music that we're actually singing in our churches. And so, Doug may have some comments on that as well, but I would just say as far as how we approach quote-unquote Christian music, we need to be incredibly discerning and realize that not everybody who's writing quote-unquote Christian music is even a Christian. A pastor texted me that I know who was at a retreat where there was a bunch of songwriters from Nashville that were writing songs to hopefully get placed on CCLI to be sung in churches, and they brought a couple of speakers in, and he texted me and he said, This is absolutely abysmal, the state of this. Most of the people that are here that are writing music for the churches don't even go to church. And so I just think it's important to be very discerning and don't just assume because something has a Christian label on it that it's inherently even Christian.
Yeah, and I think in regards to, deconstruction or anything around that, like, should we be listening to only Christian music? Should we be, I don't love the term secular music, right? But and a lot of really solid Christian artists would say, well, we don't like being called a Christian artist because we're writing songs and we happen to be Christians, but we don't want to just get thrown into this camp, right? So I think it comes down to, as a parent, if you're a parent of a student who wants to check out music, listen, because your student is being theologically formed by these things that they're listening to. And everyone, if we talk about worldview or worldview training, you're getting your worldview by what you're being exposed to, and a lot of lyrics have really, really subtle messages, right? Like, obviously, everyone in this room knows who Taylor Swift is, and so if you're having people listen to Taylor Swift, I've got a lot of friends who have their 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old daughters who idolize Taylor Swift, right? And her latest album that came out yesterday or 2 days ago. I'm not that big of a Swiftie, so I don't remember the exact timing, but it's a super sexually charged album, like if you actually dive into the actual lyrics. So those things are forming our kids and our students. And so as a parent, it's not to necessarily say, no, you can't listen to this, yes, you can listen to this. It's, why do you want to listen to this? And how do we look at these lyrics? And what do these lyrics mean? And should this be something that you are allowing to form you spiritually?